Hey, what's up guys? I'm going to be going over Zeta Plus 2. So I got my start making music with the original Zeta Plus. And it was, the kind of the who's who synth of trance music at that time. And it was pretty revolutionary seeing as how it came out a lot of years ago. And when you open it up, I encourage you to check out the classic content, and you can hear some recognizable stuff. A lot of guys use this back in the day. So yeah, how these videos work is the first video I ramble and I make a lot of people angry, and I go over the topology, and in the next video I get into like the nitty gritty and get everything going on. So what you have your two sections, your synthesizer modulation section window here, this whole guy, and then your effects section. So think of these as like two separate entities, really. And yeah, it's basically how it works. It's laid out like a lot of synths, but it's very unique because it has all these wave shaping capabilities, which we'll get into. So this is the oscillator section. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 oscillators. They can be additive, and they can be free, they can be synced to each other, they can modulate each other, and you have your nice little performing window here. You have your filter section, 2 filters, and they can be run parallel, dual, and you can route each oscillator into its own filter, which is pretty cool. It has even more shaping capabilities. You have your envelopes here, and your LFOs, and then your matrix, so you can map your envelopes and your LFOs to various thingamajigs, and that's pretty cool. Down here you have your, I guess, your voicing options, and it also tells you the amount of whatever you're moving. So down here you have your voicing, so you can have polyphony between 1, so it's like monophonic, duophonic, and all the way up to 64 note polyphony, which is pretty crazy. Of course, you can stack these as many as you want. You can transpose it up or down, and it gives you an accurate voice count. So 5 voices have been used for that little whatever that was. That's pretty cool. Down the effects, we'll get into this later. You have your distortion, your compression, your reverb, your EQ, which is kind of unique, and we'll get into that. Your modulation, which is like your chorus and flanger and all that fun stuff, and your delay, sync, tape, what else? LRC, yeah, and all that fun stuff. Down here you still have your same voice. You have your voice options here, and you can rearrange everything in series. Can't do it in parallel. You can do parallel kind of stuff, but that doesn't really matter. It's still pretty powerful. And yeah, you have your level here and your limit, your soft limit. Now this is inspired by the virus synths, which have their own kind of soft limiter output. There's a lot of things under that are kind of references to synths that we'll get into. So continue to the next video and we'll get going as we go. All right. Hey, what's up guys? I'm going to be going over the oscillator section in this video. I'm going to explain it the best that I can, and yeah, let's hop to it. So you have your 6 oscillators here, and how they work, they work kind of different than what you might run into. So traditionally, subtractive synthesizers, you'll use a combination of oscillators, filters, and distortion to shape a sound. And instead of showing another synth and being rude, I'll give you an example. So we have on the virus right here, we have an oscillator, and I'll shape it with the filter, and you can visibly see it in the signal analyzer. And then I'll introduce distortion, saturation to give it a bit more of a shape. So we've done all that, but underneath, it's still the original wave. If we take out the filter and the distortion. So what Zeta Plus does is, instead of running oscillators through like filters and distortion units and all that fun stuff, and bit crushers and wave shapers. It actually, you change the waveform before it goes into all that. So yeah, it's kind of like wavetables, but it's shaping wavetables. So they call it a wave shaping synthesizer, and you get some really interesting results. So I'm going to initialize, and where I have to find too many channels. There we go. So we're going to initialize, and I encourage you to use the signal analyzers while you explore synthesizers. So we initialized, and there's no oscillators present, no filters. The amplifier envelope is meh. Everything is kind of a blank slate. So you select your wave. Well, you select your oscillator. We're going to select oscillator 1, and we're going to select our wave, and we have a plethora of different kinds. So instead of like selecting a saw wave, you have the option to select a bunch of saw waves. So you have saw waves with a bit of sine added to them, a saw wave where it has like a weird kind of DC offset, vintage-like, and more of a traditional saw shape, different kinds of saws, some terrifyingly synced saws, more sinusoidal squares saws, and you get deeper sounds. So the point of all this is you want to create different timbres, and timbres are different shapes of waves, and you get different sounds. So we're going to start with, let's see, maybe, no, there, yeah, so we have a sine wave here. So this is like a basic building block. It's a sine wave, and I made it the best I could. So one of the things you can do is you can shape, and this is where the power of the synthesizer comes into play. You shape it using like all of these options here, and yeah, you can see them. So warping it, I just have to look at my notes here. You know, these shape the sound. So instead of, I can't really explain what they do, but what they do is, this is kind of like a fold back. So it folds back. It's kind of like a fold back distortion. And you twist. And what this does is it flips it upside down, but it cancels out the rest of it. You'll see that it like moves it around. This kind of shapes it. This is like kind of how like the Rob Papin synths, how they go about it. And this can give you a very sharper sound. Offset is that wave actually adds a sinusoidal to the actual sound. You can't really add a sine to a sine, but if you add wave, you get a deeper sound. Say if you're using one of the additive wave shapes. You have your bit reduction. You can reduce it into a perfect square, kind of perfect square. Shrink, it moves it over. It's kind of like hard sync. You'll see that it's chopping it in half and making everything 0. And you can see what happens here is reflected in the signal analyzer, which is pretty cool. You have self-sync, which syncs it to itself, gives it a really nice kind of FM-y, which is awesome. I don't know what that does. You can use a different combination of all these, and it really adds to the sound. You have, of course, a low pass and a high pass filter, which is traditionally what you find in a subtractive synthesizer. Your fold, chops it in half, and you get really neat things. So let's get a different one. So a multi-saw. So this is taken from the JP8000. I wonder what this is. And what you can do is what the spectrum does. How can I explain the spectrum? It causes the waveform's harmonic levels to wander in alternating directions, creating a complex phaser-like quality. So changes the timbre, which is pretty cool. And the random all and random odd, this it amplifies the even harmonics, making it brighter, and the random odd amplifies the odd harmonics, making it darker. So you get like kind of like how that dubstep thing is, which is pretty cool. And another thing you can do, hopefully I'm explaining this well, is you can grab the wave and shape it by dragging it around an XY. Right? And that's basically how you do it. So yeah, let's get into more modes here. Of course, we can transpose it up or down. So what I'm doing is I'm right-clicking or left-clicking, and it goes up or down respectively. Octave up or down. So this is the modes. So you have your fixed free, so no matter what key you press, it stays the same pitch. So normal synced, it'll play normal with normal key tracking, and it'll sync and it'll start at the same time. Oops. And we can invert it. So you have like an inverted saw, so we flip it upside down, which could be desirable. So normal free it's just a free running oscillator. And inverted free is flipped upside down, and it's a free running oscillator. Multi-sync, it'll sync to itself, and you'll notice that the phase turns into spread. So what this does is, if you can hear that, the phase, like all these saws, they're stacked up and they're spread across the spectrum. This is super saw. So what happens is they all start at the same time. They're synced. If we go multi-free, they are free running and you don't get that part. So you get more of an organic free running oscillator, which is more what you would expect. So yeah, the detuning, the unison is hidden down here. And what you can do is you can, detune a lot of things. So you can make like a very powerful square. And that's pretty fun. And you can stack up as like 6 of these. You can have a very large sound. So you have these all run in series. So 1 goes into 2, into 3, into 4, into 5, and 6. Right now they're additive, so they all go, straight out, and that's all well and good. But we can have one modulate the second one via ring. So I'll do that. We can have it. We can have them hard sync each other, which is a weird sound. We can have them, frequency modulate each other. So think of FM as a really fast LFO with key tracking, and additive is basically just additive. So it's a unique form of synthesis, and you shape things. You shape the physical waveform, and then you filter them. So it's still subtractive, and you still have modulation, and you still have the ability to low pass and high pass, make things sound more bright and brittle, and which is pretty cool. And yeah, what else? Yeah, we'll get into that later. Okay, that is it. Hopefully I did it correctly. If I don't, please yell at me. And I hope I cleared some stuff up. Oh, perform. Okay, yeah. Okay, perform. So let's go vintage saw. And what we'll have is, this is all different kind of bend scales. We have portamento. So it's a gliding of between notes if it's one note polyphony, so monophonic, which is pretty cool. Burst emulates that analog burst, that really fast attack. And drift changes the pitch, which gives it an analog feel. Analog synthesizers suck. Oh yeah, you might not want to turn portamento on. That's pretty cool. Bend modes, you can if you're playing a chord, the bend mode will prioritize. It'll just bend the highest note, and normal will bend all the notes, and low it'll just bend the lower notes. So it's a really cool performance aspect. Bend up, bend down, plus or minus 2, and bend scale is you can bend it in a minor and major key, which is pretty cool. I don't really use that, but yeah, we also have our XY here. So yeah, that is the end of the video, and I hope you learned stuff. And hey, what's up, guys? Let's go over the filter section. So I'm gonna make a sound, and obviously I will use a multi-saw. I will have a multi-free, and I will spread it. I will boost level. And that sounds pretty cool. I'll add another one to oscillator 1, and I will have this up an octave. Oh, yep, oops, up an octave. Right. So I have these two sounds here, and what I can do is, what you should do is, it's kind of like massive, how you can have one oscillator going into filter 1 and the second oscillator going to filter 2, or you can balance them out, and you can have each of your oscillators going into a different filter, or one of two filters. So we have oscillator 2 going into filter 2. So let's let's just use filter 2 for now. So this is filter 2, and there's a plethora of different filters we can use. So when you see 12, 24, 36 dB, the higher the number, the steeper the cutoff. So we'll have a gentle kind of cutoff here. You can see that in the spectrum. It's a very gentle cutoff. But if we have it like a hard 36 dB, it's a more harsher cutoff, which makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to show you another trick. So we have filter 1 going in, we have oscillator 1 going into filter 1, and I'll boost the level. Right, so we have that. It's a very high note. We have LPF, which is a low pass filter. We have 3 forms of our low pass filter. We have high pass filter, 2 forms of our high pass filter, no 36 dB high pass filter. We have our band pass filter, or band reject filter. Band reject, which kind of does this. And our band pass, yes, this is a band pass. So it's a mixture of a high pass and a low pass. And we have our band reject, which is kind of a phasing, which can give you a phasing type effect. Format filters, what this does is this adds mathematically, not mathematically, via a filter, a vocal type effect. Kind of like how our vocal cords in our mouth work. Like our mouth is a filter, and we change the shape of our mouth using our face and our tongue, which is kind of gross, and we make different types of sounds. We channel our vocal cords out to this microphone, and you do tutorials with it. So this is kind of like a vowel filter. Just think of it like that. We have a band reject and a band pass resonance filter. You notice that there's 2 resonance peaks, which can get like really wacky sounds, right? And a comb filter. And this is it's an EQ. It just has a weird kind of thing, and you can get some like really weird effects. Right, and it sounds amazing. So we have all that. So let's combine. Oh, what I want to show you. Yeah, I'll show you with oscillator 2. So we have our super saw here. We have our limiter, and this prevents, we have a fast and slow limiter. This prevents like harsh resonant sounds from poking through. It's kind of like the drop, how that works. But one of my favorite things is a resonance boost. So if we boost our resonance, it stays the same as we bring the cutoff down. And right around here we get like a muddiness, which isn't too good. And so if we're doing a filter suite, you would have to automate the cutoff and the resonance as you sweep up, which can be kind of bleh. That's not fun. So resonance boost, what that does is, well, obviously it boosts the resonance, but it adaptively reduces the resonance as you go down in frequency, as you bring your cutoff filter down. So you get a smoother filter, which sounds pretty cool. Yeah, so let's kind of do this. So I'm going to feed our super saw. Make sure that's off. I'm going to feed our super saw into both filters now. And they're operating in parallel. So the signal is split, obviously, and it's going out both filters at the same time. So we're running it through both filters so you can get like a really wacky sound. We can also pan them and get a really interesting effect. That's hard panning. So you can pan them slightly and get a really interesting effect. You can use, obviously, a format filter. And dual will have filter 1 running into filter 2. So you have to go filter 1. So filter 1 will feed into filter 2. Right? Or you can completely bypass filter 1 if you so choose and have certain oscillators just feeding right into filter 2, completely bypassing filter 1. It gets kind of confusing, but it's pretty straightforward. And yeah, it's just a balance between left and right, parallel and dual, and panning. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the filter section. You can get some really powerful sounds just using filters. And where like a synth really breaks down is in the filters. I'm a fan of filters, and I probably said filter about 100 times. All right, well, that's it for filters, and we'll be back with some cool stuff. Hey, what's up, guys? I'm gonna be going over modulation, and modulation is the effect of things over time, and it's these 3 sections: the envelope generators, our LFO generators, and our modulation matrix, right? So all these kind of talk to each other. Well, the envelope it talks to this, and the LFO talks to this. And this is like the main kind of control matrix. So when you think of a matrix, don't get scared. It's pretty simple. So we have our init patch here. I'm going to load up a vintage saw, and yeah, we'll just click on the amplifier envelope. And this is the amplitude of a signal. And with that, you know, you press a key, it's instantly on. Press a key, it's instantly off. We can adjust the attack, so it's a slowly build up. Right? We can adjust the release, so it slowly, you know, builds down. And we can do other fun things like change the level of the sustain. So sustain is that. You can get a punchy thing, and it's just an ADSR envelope. You can do other fun things, like you can change the curve, so it's not as linear as it would be. And with the release, you can have a smooth curve release. Right, which is excellent for pads, and the amount is the amount you got going on here. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 envelopes that you can map to anything. Over here we have our LFOs. We have 4 LFOs that are synced globally, and these 2 LFOs that could be synced to voice. So let me give you an example here. I'll give you an example of our envelope first. So I'm going to select our first envelope here. I'm going to have a filter. I'm actually going to have this set to filter 1. Remember that? Alright, so we have that. So I'm going to set the source. I want our envelope 1 to adjust the cutoff of the filter. So we go source, envelope generator, envelope 1, bam, and I want it to affect the destination. Destination is our filter. Am I blind? Oh, filters, yes, there we go. Filter, cutoff, right? So we'll do some adjustments with our level here. Nothing going on yet. We need to actually adjust the range. So I'm going to go max range, max amount. So it's opening and closing pretty quickly. And that's what the envelope is doing. And yeah, that's basically what it's doing. I can do other fun things like adjust the delay, which is pretty fun. I can even make it go up. You get some 80s style going on, and that's all well and fun. And we can adjust the range here, so nothing happens. You can set the control, so we can control the range of our modulation from, I guess, an audio input, our aftertouch. So we'll do that. That actually makes a lot more sense on an LFO. So yeah, we'll just leave that. And that is our envelope. So maybe I want a cycle, an LFO, to adjust our wibbly wobbly thing type here. So I'll select a sine, simple sine, and this is LFO1. So I'll go here and I'll select LFO1. I want this to affect filter 1. Select the range. Right, and that's pretty neat. And that's basically what filter does, and we can adjust the speed. We can have a really, really slow, gentle LFO. For like, you know, different pads and stuff like that. Another interesting thing we can do is select another wave. Here, I'll just turn that off. So we can select other waves and it kind of morphs it together. This is our morph area, so it kind of looks like that. And we can combine a lot of different LFOs to get some interesting modulations. And that's all fun. So we have additive, and we can kind of flip them up. I'll actually select two sine. I'll select a sine and a pulse wave. Alright, so what this does is it'll change the way that the two shapes are combined. Oh wait, this way. And we can change it then, so it kind of does that. Kind of splits it up and down the middle and all that. So this is time morph, so this will slowly change between a square and a sine wave over time. So we can modulate the mix between the square and the sine modulation, which in turn affects another modulation. It gets really confusing. And you can get some really interesting things like that. So what I'll do is I will turn that off and I will select a saw, because this one you can really hear what's going on. We can sync these. So right now it's free running. And that's all well and good. But say if we wanted it to be synced sixteenths. Or if we want it to be synced on eighths. And you can get some really neat sort of things with that. So the phase, so right now when it's free, the phase is, the LFO is free running. But if we select the phase at like 0 or, 45 or 360, it will restart at the same time. So I guess right at the beginning here. Every time we re-trigger. Right, if it's free. And we keep on pressing buttons. It is free running, but if we have it set here, it always resets. So this would be useful for pads, like really slow pads. If you wanted to reset the phase of the LFO constantly, you get the idea. You can also offset, and we can have a fade in, so you can really hear that. So there's a fade in between the intensity, right? So that's all well and good. Curves. I like curves. You can have none selected, but you can have different ways the modulation affects it. So right now, it would be a linear curve, so up and down in equal parts. Unipolar linear plus makes it so it doesn't go below a certain threshold. Kind of hard to explain, but the LFO kind of gets shifted up, and it doesn't make things go down, makes them go up only or down only, and it's the way the modulation works. And there's a lot of different kind of aspects. Makes it slower, faster, makes it more 0 point centric, less 0 point centric, but you don't really need to worry about that starting out. But different curves have a different kind of character, and you can even modulate LFO speed with another LFO. You can get in some really interesting things like that. Really interesting modulations. Stack them up, have fun, and get things rolling. Yeah, and again, there's 2 pages, so you can create really kind of complex apparatuses, and for all that. You can even have it set up so it different oscillators. You can have an oscillator modulate the cutoff or the resonance, and you get some really interesting sounds. And you can modulate all of your wave shaping capabilities. And yeah, you can get really deep, and it's pretty fun. And yeah, we'll be back with some more stuff a little bit later. All right. Hey, what's up, guys? This is my favorite part, and this is the arpeggiator, and it's hidden right next to the modulation matrix. It's very, very exciting. So I'm gonna just load up basic vintage saw, or the first saw you get, and yeah, just for fun, I'll drop in a filter. And so what we'll do is we'll sync this to 1 bar, right? And I will select a pattern. So this is a basic pattern. So this is your basic arpeggiator. It automatically syncs to your host. I recommend that you have it synced, but you can have it like free running and you can get some really weird stuff. There's sync, gate, and free. But yeah, let's just do sync. You have your patterns, up, down, and see random, but you have to select the octaves, right? And it's a random kind of arpeggiator thing. You get into different kinds of arpeggiator. These are all programmable, and you just click and you can go through them. You have instant awesomeness. All right, we'll add a multi-free. Right, and you have all of these arpeggiators. And these can be like a starting point for a lot of things, and you can go through all your fun stuff and get that going, and get tracks going on. There's a humanize option, so it kind of it's not swing. It humanizes velocity and timing, but slightly, not linearly like a swing would. Right? Swing is, traditional. It's a traditional swing, and we have all of these cool ones. And you get into, these eclectic ones which are chord based. Right, we might want to. Right, and you sync it, and different things kind of sync in different ways. And that's pretty exciting. And another trick. So say if you have this groove going on, you just say, okay, well, I want to add another layer, but I want to use a different synthesizer. You basically take your harp and you drag it there, and then you have it in MIDI. And then there you have it. So if that trick blew your mind, give me a like. And yeah, that is the arpeggiator, and there's a lot of different things to go through. Right. Okay. That is it for me. We'll be back with some more fun stuff. What's up, guys? I'm going to be talking about the effects section in Z3TA, and this is where basically everything comes together. So I have a basic saw and a basic filter, which is pretty fun. And yeah, we're just going to go around in a circle, and then we'll come back. So we have our distortion section, right? So we have the distortion section in the filter, all voices, or in the filter and all voices. So we have different modes. So I have this. We have our filter here. Soft drive, hard drive, valve amp. We'll have to boost the gain a bit. Oops. heavy metal, and off. We can have our destination so it only affects filter 1. We have our tone, which is a tone control. So we can accentuate harmonics, and harmonics we don't want. Decimator, that is how you would say like a bit crusher you'd find in Silence 1. It emulates those old machines that had a low kind of sample rate. You can get some really interesting effects that way. We have our compressor. We can have fast, medium, or slow. Threshold, ratio, and gain. It's really good for, say, pads. You want a slow compressor just to kind of, ride the audio and all that. I should explain the effect routing. Everything runs in series, and you can switch things around. Traditionally, you would want, say, a delay before the reverb, so keep that way. You can have the compressor at the end. You can have distortion at the end, and you turn them all on via this. And it's really interesting how it all comes together. And that's your basic routing. Nothing much to it. We have our chorus and flanger, which is modulation. So it's not another LFO. It's basically chorus and flanging and chorus flanger. And you can sync a lot of these. We'll go stereo chorus, and we'll sync it 1 bar. It's kind of a Z3TA effect. And we'll set the wave to either triangle, sine, or like another sine. That's a very slow one, and you can see what it does. Just with a simple saw wave. So we'll turn that off because it's irritating. Delay, we have a bunch of delays: stereo, ping pong delay, and cross delay, and LRC delay. I'm not sure what this is. I think it might be tape. Oh. Interesting. I like stereo delay, or maybe even a tape delay, and we can EQ the wet signal. That's pretty fun, and we can have multiple delays running at once. So I'll just have that set up so that's your basic delay. Reverb, there's 4 types: mull room, mid room, large room, and plate. Plate reverb. I'll just turn this off. Plate it's more of a metallic sound. I'm not sure how it's made. Small room is a small room kind of simulation. So it's good for like drums and stuff, but sometimes it's good for, some leads. Mid-hall, which is like, a mid-hall and a large hall, which is more of like a cathedral reverb. We can EQ the reflections and make some really cool stuff. And that's basically that. This is kind of boring. Equalizer mode, we have, it's a parametric EQ. And there's a lot of different kinds of simulations. There's speaker cabinet simulations, and this is really where you shape your sound. And I'll turn that on. This can add a lot of interesting guitar bassy sounds. So we can have a simulating a radio. Other speakers, let's see, multi-phase. And it's basically the shaping of a sound post all of your synthy goodness that you've done. So we have our EQ mode. So we'll have a wide EQ mode, and it acts as a parametric EQ. So the frequencies that are most adjusted traditionally are available. So like if you want to boost 1K or around 6K for presence. And it's not so much of like an Ableton 8 like EQ, but you get a lot of nice sounds. You can even add more bass. And yeah, the EQ mode is great. I haven't really explored it that much, but you can kind of figure it out. And there you have it. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, also there's a limit here and a level, so you can have a kind of a soft limit post, so you don't accidentally hurt anyone's face. Yeah, and then there you have it. It goes out to the output, and that's basically it. I hope I was entertaining, and I hope you learned a lot. And yeah, all right, take care, and let me know what I should kind of go over next.